is Pat Helmers, and we're going to be starting the webinar in just a little bit. This is Selling with Confidence. Discover a selling style that fits your personality. Hopefully, I see that you're already all on the web page at SalesBabble, www.salesbabble.com/webinar training. If you go to the webinar training page, you will see that that at the bottom right hand corner, there's a leave a message box. It says live chat. Please, there will be an agent there. That agent is indeed me. So why don't you type your name in there and click the send button, and you will be able to send me messages, text me messages, questions that you might have. And I highly recommend you folks to ask me questions as you think of them as they come along. And towards when we get to the end of the webinar, I'll be happy to go through as many of those as I can and answer your questions as things go on. Again, I want to get right to it. The Selling with Confidence webinar to discover a selling style that fits your personality. So with no further ado, let's get right to that. So that you know what we're going to be doing here today, I want to promise, I have some promises that I want to make to you, and I want to make sure that you know that I want you to get a lot of value out of this webinar. I want to ensure that you learn 3 skills, the 3 skills that it takes to succeed at sales. There's 3 of them that all great sellers have, and there's skills that you yourself can obtain also. Next, I want to go over the 6 stages of any sale. Sales are a process, and they start from 0 and they go to the end. And I want to make sure that you understand. We'll make sure and we'll chat about that, what all those stages are, so that you know what to do as we walk through a sale. And then the next thing I want to talk about is there is a mindset that everybody who is a master at sales has in their mind, and it's a mindset that you probably have already inside of you. And once you can tap into that, I believe by the end of this webinar, you will be able to greatly improve your selling ability right off the bat. And then at the very end, there's going to be an offer. I want to be upfront with that. There's going to be an offer to learn more about selling, and I'll chat about that at that time, what that's going to look like. So with that said, why don't we move to the next slide here. Let's reflect a little bit about how do you think society perceives sales? Do you think the people give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down? They've done a lot of studies on this, and this is probably a feeling that you have. That's probably why you're on the confidence. A lot of people give sales a thumbs down, not a thumbs up. What are some of the words that kind of come to mind when you think of sales? And the ToSellIsHuman.com did some studies on this, and these are the words when they interviewed a bunch of people on the things that come to their mind when asked about sales. What's the one that's most in your face here? Pushy, yuck, ugh, difficult, annoying. These are the kinds of things that people commonly think of when they think of sales. So it's a little wonder that there's many people out there in the world when they think of sales, they're going, no way in the world that's something that I'm going to want to do. So I'd like to ask you a question right now. On a scale of 1 to 10, where are you at when it comes to how I love sales? Are you at a 10 where I really love sales? Are you at a 0 where I can't really stand it, or are you someplace in the middle? Answer that question and write that down right now. Where are you at on the scale of I love sales? Back in the day, when people think of sales, when you think of car sales and things like that, the sellers had all the cards. And I'm talking about back in the day, like before the internet. Back then, most people didn't have easy access to lots of information, and they really weren't able to get their hands on that. The seller was the one who knew everything about that. But what I would like to say, and what I would like to posit here is, and this is a myth, that world is a myth now, that world no longer exists. Who knows more than the buyer? In fact, I believe it's the other way around. We call that information asymmetry. Sellers no longer hold all the cards. And why is that? Because you can Google everything and anything that you ever want on the internet. Buyers now hold all the cards. They have the ability to go on a shopping shopping carts and purchase things and throw. In fact, you could probably even buy a car online. It may actually be delivered at your house. The other thing that's going on here is that if we think about traditional sales, if we were to go back 50 years ago or so, 1 in 9 people were in sales. And by sales, I mean that they actually did door-to-door sales, or they were working in a store, or maybe they did telemarketing, maybe they'd call up on the phone, things like that. Here it is 30 years later, it's still the same. It's still 1 in 9 people that are in sales. So sales is something that's really not going away. It's something that can't be easily outsourced. And the reason for that is sales has a lot to do with the ability to be a human being and to be able to read how other people are. So sales is a pretty solid, has a pretty solid future in there. I have a number of Twitter followers on salesbabble.com, and I actually commissioned a survey, maybe in April or so of 2014. And I asked, what % of your day, of my followers, do you spend persuading, influencing, and convincing people? And why don't you answer the question for yourself? Is it around 10%? Is it around 30%? Or is it around 50%? Or maybe greater than 50%? This is what my findings were. Less than 10% of the people said, 21% of the people said less than 10%, so it wasn't a whole lot. Around 25% said it's around 30%. And what are we talking about here? We're talking about 1/3 of your day. 32% said half, and greater than, and 22% said greater than 75%. So if we were to take from a third to a full day, or greater than 75%, 79% of the people spend at least a third or more of their day in sales, convincing, influencing, or trying to persuade people to do something. What does that all mean? In many regards, we're all in sales. Sales is something fundamental to the human spirit, and it's something it's a skill that we all employ every day, and it's something we can always get better at. And it's something, interesting thing about sales is it's been around forever. If you look at ancient Sumeria, you look at the Silk Road, trading has been going on for 10,000, 15,000 years. It's an extremely old profession. And it's all about making trades. If you give me an X, I'll trade you it for a Y. And this whole process of agreeing on that. In reality, when it comes to sale, if there's no sales, what's something I like to say all the time is, if there's no sales, there's no revenue. If there's no revenue, there's no business. Yet in many regards, sales is a huge barrier for all of us. Some of the troubles that I heard from people that were in my survey was, one person sent in and said, I don't know how best to inform and influence someone to buy something I'm offering while not coming across as pushy or all about the money. And another woman said, I'm a middle-aged English woman who's practiced law for 20 years, asking people to buy from me as alien as a singing opera. I just can't really do this. I can't do this.